this video, you will learn how to build a full-blown ReactJS meme creator that works as a website and could also be built as a native iOS and Android application using Capacitor. What's up, Ionics, and welcome back to a big guide on building a ReactJS application. We're gonna dive into so many different topics today that it's gonna covering really everything that you need to understand about building a website with React, integrating APIs, using Rapid API, building a great UI using Material UI, and in the end even deploying a native application to iOS and Android using Capacitor. That means after going through this tutorial, you will be able to build your own website, to deploy it to Netlify, to deploy it to iOS, to deploy it to Android, and pretty much have everything from one single code base. And if you want to check it out, link to the GitHub repository right below this video. To integrate all the cool meme functionality, we're using APIs from Rapid API, which is also sponsoring this video. So you can check it out at rapidapi.com. There are thousands of APIs that you can integrate into your applications, and all you need to do is create a free account at rapidapi.com. So if you want to support this channel, of course hit the like button and stay subscribed, but also today go check out Rapid API, create a free account, and get started integrating APIs, because there's pretty much an API for everything. You can use some APIs even for free, some are paid. We're gonna look into all of this, but go check it out since you need an account for this video to follow along and build a cool meme creator. Alright, let's start today's tutorial by creating a new React app using create React app. Followed by the name, I'm just going to call this meme app. I also want to use the template TypeScript because that will give us a nice starting point for our application. I highly like TypeScript and I recommend it to everyone using it. So there's pretty much no discussion about this anymore, and basically everyone in the web development world is using TypeScript. And once our application is bootstrapped, I'm actually using, I think this is the Hyper Terminal. Yeah, I just installed this like a day ago. Once this is done, we need 2 additional packages. Well, actually we need quite a few additional packages, but the most important being the React router. First of all, I'm going to open my meme app now using Visual Studio Code. And I also actually using a new theme, if you notice it. So this is the Shades of Purple theme as far as I know. Let me check it out. Preferences, color theme. Shades of Purple. Yeah, I kind of like it. So let me know what you think about this. On top of that, I also recommend you check out the Rapid API extension. So I gave this a try. Rapid API, you can search it under extensions and you will find the Rapid API client. So simply install it, and then it will give you a new icon here in the sidebar. So I got quite a few. I should probably, let's remove, can I move this around? Would be cool. There is it, there it comes up. So here's the Rapid API extension, and this extension helps you to directly make requests to APIs from Visual Studio Code. And I've been a big fan of using Postman in the past, but I actually found this to work a lot easier and have it directly here inside Visual Studio Code. So I'm zoomed in quite a bit, so you probably don't see a lot, but this is how it looks. We got the URL address bar, we got the headers and the query params, the body, description, and on the right hand side, we got the result. And the cool thing is I can now dive into my files here, and it will always show up here as a tab. So this is what I really like about this extension. So give it a try. I certainly like the approach. Now that we got our React application up and running, let's probably put the sidebar to the right hand side. I think you can deal better with that. Also, I'm gonna run npm run start and zoom in to make sure you can see everything once again. And then we should be able to see our application. Nice. But I actually want to use my own browser, so let me bring up Arc again and put it in here. There we go. Here is the app up and running. That's good news. I'm gonna put it a bit to the side and then probably open it side by side later. So for the zoom, I just want to make sure that we're back at 4. Yeah, we went to 3 for the application. So let's do this back to 4. All right, app is up and running. That's a good sign. Now let's install the additional packages I mentioned, which are just 2 for the beginning, the React router DOM. So we got client-side routing and Axios to better make HTTP calls later. We could use the standard fetch API, but I kind of like Axios a bit more. After that, we will also need or should use some kind of UI styling library. And for this tutorial, I actually tried a few. However, I ended up using Material UI, and I think this is like one of the most popular choices for React right now. We will see that it actually works pretty nice for both web and mobile. The documentation is good. It is free for the community version. There are just a few things not included, but that is really not a problem. So once we dive into the Material UI, we're gonna get into all of this. But for the installation, what we need is first of all, Material UI, the emotion package and emotion styled. And so let's run this right here. And on top of that, I also noticed that I want to use the icons as well from Material UI. So let's also install the Material UI icons material. You should probably prefix this with install or at least an I. And then I think we got all of the package that we need for the moment. Now, if we check out our application in Arc, we're gonna see no changes so far. So let's change this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna first of all define a bit of our routing for the application. So for this, let's dive probably into the index, and let's also create a new folder under source that we're gonna call components. So what I want to create for now is, let's say I want to have a home component, so a home tsx, and I'm also going to have a header.tsx. For the sake of navigation, let's probably also add an about.tsx. And then we got enough pages for the beginning. We're going to add more once we go. So this will throw an error, but no problem. We're going to solve this in a second. So diving into our, for example, about file, I did have a snippet for this, like React functional component, something like that. Yeah, well, to some degree, actually, yeah, I don't like either approach. So I actually want to make this an arrow function. So let's just do this by hand. So const about, and then equals our arrow function, and we can use export default. There's a discussion about if you like it or not. Let's keep it for now. Let's put also the same into our header file and just change this to header, and let's put this and probably call this one header. That makes sense. And then let's also put it under home and call this home and home page. Home. Okay, we got 3 components. Let's see how we can put them into our routing. And for that, we're gonna go to our index.tsx and define the routes for our application. We can do this somewhere up here. So let's say const router equals create browser router. And we're actually using the version 6 of the React browser router, 6.4 actually already. So therefore we go ahead and then we can create an array of routes that we want to show in our application. So the first path will be like the parent path. This will just be a slash. And this will simply show or use as an element our app. So that's like the basic one that will define the basic layout for our application. And then we're gonna have an array of, no, not childcare, where's this coming from? An array of children. I haven't seen that one before, really, childcare. At least not in this context. And then we could have a dedicated error element here. So I'm gonna put later on an error element up here. Or, well, let's start easy. And let's say we have our home element. That should be available at the index path. So that simply means at slash. Didn't you add the home import? You were not sure where to take it from. Okay, that's fine. Okay, then we got the about element. I think that's pretty much all we have at the moment. But we're gonna extend this, and it's just to figure out how the routing actually works. So now we got our router element from create browser router, and we can apply this to our application. So instead of just having app in here to display the app, we're now going to use the router provider and provide our custom router file, which will then help to show those routes. Now, if I reload this, nothing has actually changed because on slash, we're still displaying app. And actually for about, we could now also add the path slash about. There we go. And now we should probably be able to go to slash about, but in fact, I don't think we are. Yeah, we are not. We will go back to the index page. The reason is simple. Let's check out what our application actually renders under app. Well, under app, we're rendering quite a lot of things right now. And also under app.css, we have a bunch of initial CSS that I actually want to just remove. I don't want to see this anymore. So let's remove this and let's check out our app.tsx again. And the only thing I want to return in that app.tsx is actually the general layout for the application. So let's remove this. I don't think we need the app CSS anymore. And let's just get rid of everything. So this is our bare bones application. I'm gonna wrap everything now with a fragment because we're gonna have a simple setup for our UI. So at the top, we're gonna have a header, which is our header component. And then in the main part, we're gonna have an outlet from the React Router DOM. And that simply displays whatever we're currently navigating to. So now we see header about because we're on the about page. If I remove this, I would see header and home page. And that is exactly what I wanted to have in here. Let's maybe create a few more pages because we're at this and we're pretty good at this. So let's also create the, I'm gonna call this creator.tsx. We're gonna see how this fits into the picture of our meme creator in the end. But then we have more pages to navigate to. And probably let's also create an error page.tsx. Oh, that's probably not what I want to put into the error page. So we're gonna call this error page. We could also just, do we want to go with error page? I think this is more clear. So 404 something, whatever we want to return on that page. Now with that in place, we can now change our app routing in the index file and include those new routes. So for example, at the top level, whenever we encounter something we don't know or we don't have a route for, we're going to show the error page. On top of that, whenever we encounter a problem here, we also want to show the error page. And to make that work, we're going to have one generic level up here of an error element, where we once again use the error page. And then under that, we're going to put our children, the ones we had before. So they just pretty much moved one children level down. So we have one general fallback page here. Additionally, we added another element. I think we added the creator. So let's make this available under create. And then we have our routing here. So let's see, we're at home. We can go to about, we could go to create, showing creator, and then we could go to something that doesn't exist and we would see our 404 page. Nice, that is a good starting point. So now, after creating this, let's dive into the header component and the styling for our UI. So probably let's start in the app.tsx because just having the outlet in here looks kind of odd. So I want to put a container around this. A container is the first material UI component that we're going to use. Container, and it's pretty much just a wrapper. It centers our content horizontally. It's a most basic layout element. So let's put in a container in here. I'm going to call this container. It should automatically add the import. I'm just going to wrap it around the outlet from our React router. So if I now go back here, we already see that this moved quite a tiny bit. Let's try if we can just, does it have something like background? No, but we can easily give it, well, actually we're usually using SX. I'm gonna get more into how this styling works in the end. For now, let's just try something. so we can give it a nice background color and see actually the box here. So this is the main area of our content. And as we can see, if we make this bigger, we have this nice little inset. On small screens, it will take up the whole space. On bigger screens, it will just be in the center. And if you want to say, well, please don't make this too big, we could also initially give this a maximum width, a max width of a specific breakpoint. So I'm going to use the max width of the large breakpoint, which means our app, the container, won't get a lot bigger than this. And I think this is pretty nice. Okay, I think we can keep it like this and now focus on the header, because then we will also be able to navigate around in our application. And I think the header component might actually be the most complicated part of this tutorial, simply because we want to implement this so that it works for both the web and small screens like this. And that means we want to have a general top navigation on the web, while we have a draw component to the side once we go into mobile devices. And setting this up is, well, it's actually not too hard, but it's something we certainly need to figure out. So let's start with the header. We can assume that we're gonna need a state called mobile open, and also set mobile open to simply toggle our side menu. We can use state and set this to false in the beginning, and come up with a function handle draw toggle, and then within here we're going to call set mobile open to not mobile open. So this is pretty much the toggle functionality for our menu. Now, in terms of the general UI, let's start in our return function and put everything under a fragment, because I think we're gonna have multiple elements in here. And let's probably start with the app bar. So this is the next component from material UI. And if we just put in an app bar, will this actually display something? Well, not really, but it actually moved our first bar that we had out of the view. So the app bar itself doesn't really seem to have anything. And if we check out the documentation of Material UI, you will notice that for the app bar, it always comes with, hello, please give me the app bar. There it is. The app bar that looks like this always comes with an additional toolbar inside, and then we can have multiple buttons, or we can have typography elements, and that's exactly what we want to do. In fact, I think I used like probably this template here with a responsive draw to the side. I don't want to copy this in, so let's do this just one by one, because this is actually an interesting exercise of setting up our Material UI screen. So under the app bar, I'm now putting a container. We used the container before. Do we need it from system or material? I think from material. And I'm gonna also, just like we had for our inside area, set the max width of this container to large. And within that container, I'm gonna put a toolbar. And then we should finally see something if I add the right import. So there we go, da-da, we finally have our toolbar at the top. Nice. We don't really have any content yet, but we're gonna of course change that soon, but that is a good starting point. Now, within the toolbar, I first of all would like to put that little draw button when we go to small screens. So on small screens, I want to show an icon button. I'm gonna not set anything specific yet. The only thing I know I want to have is the menu icon. So I assume, yeah, the import is not automatically coming in. And we're gonna add this manually. So let's import the menu icon from, we could just import one icon actually from icons menu. And then we have the first icon up here. Nice, that's a good starting point. I like it. But I definitely don't like the color. So let's change this directly on the icon button. So I'm gonna give it the color, I'm gonna inherit the color that should, yeah, turn this one white. Nice. Also, I want to put it to the edge, so I can say edge equals start, and then we notice it moves a tiny bit to the left-hand side. Of course, we also need an onClick function here. So onClick, the only thing we want to do is handle draw toggle, which will either open or close the menu. Right now, it's of course not doing anything, but we could also already lock this out. Top of this, we probably want to add some kind of padding, but for now, let's keep it in there like it is. So after the icon button, we're gonna add a little typography element now. So typography, import coming in as well. We're gonna use the variant H6, so it's really not something big. And I think we should, let's put it like this. I'm gonna give this the name Rapid Memes. And we see it's probably a bit too close to this, so we should maybe change that in a second. On top of that, I also want to have the rocket launch icon. Oh, nice. Finally, the automatic import works. Or at least I thought it would work. So if I want to use it like this, I think I need to tell the typography element to be more like a div element. Yeah. Did this change? What this change? Was it that change? No, it worked before. It worked before, I think, yeah. Okay, next to this, I want to have some kind of padding, but we're going to talk about the padding soon. For now, for mobile, this looks pretty good. For the web, this, of course, looks horrible. Also, on the web, I don't really want to have it like this. So we're going to have to talk about that in a second as well. But maybe we should now try and implement the actual element, the draw component that we can see once we click on that button. So let's try and do this before we actually do the web bar. So after the app bar is closed, we're gonna start another box and giving it the component type nav. So we also need the import here for our box. And then what we're going to put in is a swipeable draw. So I'm going to use this swipeable draw because it simply adds the benefit of that we can on a mobile device really swipe in this draw component. And we can define a few things. So it should be open if mobile open is set. So this is where our value comes in. And please, didn't you add this? Yeah, there are still a few things missing. No worries. On open, we're gonna call our draw functionalities. So that was handle draw toggle, and we're gonna use the same now for on close. And I also want to pass in the modal props to improve the performance. Sorry about that. Keep mounted. Just saying true, so that will keep our menu mounted all the time. Will this already work? Nah, not yet. Also, I should probably close it at some point, yeah. Okay, can we already open it? Yeah, it shows some dark background. That's definitely a good starting point. However, we don't have any content within it yet. So we don't have the actual draw menu. And we can define this in here, or we could define it as another function up here. Let's do this way. So let's do const draw equals, and this will return another box. This box will actually also on click. Sorry, box. Are you fine? Why no code completion today? Okay. I'm fine with that handle draw toggle. Let's try. Okay, and I'm gonna now add this draw here. So we just outsourced a bit of the code and put it in here. And now, am I able to open this? Not completely yet, but well, the box doesn't really have any content, so let's put in test here. And then I see, oh, there is a tiny little menu up here. Oh, that's a nice starting point. Oh, I really like it. So let's replace the test log we had in here and put in some better typography element. I'm gonna use the H6 once again, H6. And saying menu. So then we see menu appear up here. Below that, we're going to put just a divider element. So that should just be a horizontal line, and then that will be followed by the actual menu links. However, we see a problem, and that is this menu is way too small. So we need to set at least a somewhat reasonable draw width, and I'm going to define this just up here outside of our header component. So let's move to the bottom area once again. And for our swipeable draw, we can now directly influence the UI. And this is by using SX. So with the SX, we're using CSS here in HTML. And we got access to a specific set of CSS. So we say, for example, text align, you see this is not the usual CSS selector, but it's like a subset of that. But we can easily use it in here, and we don't have to touch CSS in most places, which makes this pretty cool to style our material UI components. Now, what we want to do is we actually want to style the draw component, this one. And if we check it out in our debugging, come on, go, wait. We're going to see that this element is actually called material UI draw paper, like something like this right here. So we can target that directly from CSS now by using and, because we're still on the swipeable draw, remember that, and material UI draw paper. And what we want to give to that is the width that we defined up there. So that could also be something else. In our case, we're going to give it like this. And then we change the draw width to be that. Well, I think this should work for most mobile devices. We'll make this a bit smaller. Do we need this to be bigger? I don't think so. I actually don't think so. We're gonna in the end see this, but it's gonna be quite easy to change this since we have that value up there. So now we just need to define our mobile menu. Therefore, let's go back to our draw component up here, and under divider, please just for the sake close this in one element. Let's use a list because we want to list out some components. Now we need to talk about our navigation elements, and since we need them in the mobile menu as well as on the web, let's create a little array up here. Let's call this nav items. We could also have this like as an input property for the header, but I don't really see any value in that right now. So let's say for the link slash, I want to show label meme of the day, which is pretty much like the home, but I don't really like the word home in there. And then we're gonna have a second one, which is the about page, and that will have the label about. We will also have a link to the create page where we can then create something, but I'm gonna show this as an additional button with like a little more functionality. So these will just be like the general navigation items. And now we can iterate our navigation items here in the list. So let's do this nav items map. And for every item, we're gonna create a little view in here. So what I want to use for every of these is actually a list item. So let's try this list item from material UI. Thanks for that. And then usually you put in a list item button and give that an href using the item. Then you also have the list item text in here. Okay. And probably next to the text, I think we need to define this actually in here. So for the list item text, I need to define this primary. We set this to item.label. And then let's try and save this. And then, nice, we see already meme of the day and about. Now, if we look close at this, we see a lot of padding around this. I really don't like it in this list. So for the list item, I want to disable padding. As a result, now these take up the whole view. On top of that, I would really like to have a little icon at the end of this. I kind of like this on the list. So we could put in an icon button here in our list item at the edge end. And then we probably should define which icon. I think the chevron right outlined should work in this case. And then we have, where did I go wrong? Why is it just not loading yet? Turn on right out. Probably we have a problem with the color as well. The icon is in there. Let's see. So for the list item text, we got the icon button and the chevron. Where did we import it? Okay, that everything should be fine. But I think we're gonna define also for the text a different color. And if we want to use the colors from the material UI theming, we can directly access them. So I could say color, and I could now say gray. And this would, yeah, if I use it probably, or after using it once, it would add the import. So I could now add gray from material UI colors. And if I use gray in here, I could even say which exact step color I want. So here's the definition of all the colors, which is pretty nice. And I want to use 800. So if I do it like this, you see it becomes like, let's do something extreme, 200. You can barely see those anymore, right? If I go to 400, you can once again see them again. We go to 800 and it looks like this. I'm actually not completely sure why our element is still missing. Because it usually should be there. So where is my icon? Span. Doesn't really look like in the list item is any kind of item included yet. Icon button using the chevron outlined. I think actually this needs to be outside of the list item button. So I really hate that it's not automatically closing this. So let's do it like this. Yeah, that makes more sense. So now we got the arrow. It needs to be in the list item button, but of course not inside the list item text. Anyway, we now also got colors. That was anyway something I wanted to talk about with you. So there we go. On top of that, while we are at this and talking about colors, let's quickly take a step to define the theme for our application. I know I don't really want to change this a lot, but I want to show you how this works with Material UI. So up in our index.ts, we can do something and define a theme. So let's do this. I'm actually going with let theme first because we'll reassign it in a second. And we call the create theme function from usually using material. There we go, material. And within here, we can now define really a lot of things, pretty much everything for our theming that we want to change. So if you want to override the color palette, you could do it in here. So then you could say my primary color is, I don't know, something like this. And as a result, palette primary, why not happy about this? Do I have to define secondary as well? Oh yeah, I think, yeah, this needs to be a palette option actually. So we would have to select a color from the color palette. So let's say primary is indigo and secondary is pink. Updating the colors. We will then have the blue up here. I could say primary is, I don't know, what are the other colors, like green. And then our top bar, yeah, of course, we're not yet applying this theme. And by the way, what we also want to do before I forget it is tell the theme to please use responsive font sizes. Because we're targeting both web and mobile devices, we should be really thoughtful about responsive things. And if we don't do this, we're going to have large fonts on mobile devices. And therefore, if we do it like this, they will look smaller on mobile devices. And that's exactly what we want. Now, we just need to use this theme in our application, and we can use it pretty much like we use the router provider. We can now use a theme provider and provide our theme and wrap this simply around our application. And as we do this, this one turns green. However, I actually do like indigo for the primary color, which is this. It's a tiny bit different from the blue we had before. And we're gonna see how the pink color looks like in a second once we do it as well. But this is how you can customize your theming colors. Good that we got this. Good that we talked about this. Now let's go back to the Hera page. No, of course, the header page, and check out our menu. So we got meme of the day, we got about, but everything really, like, we probably need a bit of padding in there. This doesn't really look good to me yet. So let's see. On our box, we're gonna actually add an SX as well. So for the SX, I'm gonna give it the background color, BG color, and now using the color palette, so I can access it just like this. It looks a bit scary, but it actually turns this into the blue block. So this is how we could access pretty much all the colors of our application. Now, once we got this, I should probably also set the general text color to something light. So I'm gonna go with just plain white for the text, which only turns the menu white. That's cool. We're gonna get to that in a second. But I also wanna add text align center to put it into the center. We will later also talk about more padding, but for now, we're just gonna leave it like this is. For our menu element, where's the menu element? Here. Let's give a bit of padding and margin to this. So we can directly give margin or just margin to the y-axis. So the vertical axis, I'm always confused with vertical and horizontal, but this is like horizontal. So this would be mx, margin for x, but we're gonna give margin to the y element. So then we're gonna have a bit margin at the top and bottom. And we could also do the same for padding. So this works the same, pt, py, px, but pt in this case is just padding top. And then we got a little bit bigger menu element up there. Now we can see the list has a blue background. I don't like this. I actually only wanted to give this to the, yeah, but we're gonna keep it in here for a reason I'm gonna show you on mobile later. If we just give it to typography, we're gonna have a different problem later. So I'm gonna stick to this, and for the list, I'm gonna say, please, you can use the background color of white. And there we go, and voila, our map is back. Now, the only problem is that I can't really navigate around. Can I actually? Let's check this out. Probably our header is covering the main area. Yeah, so we definitely need to make sure that we're not trolling ourselves too much. And I'm glad I actually figured this out. So let's see, I'm just for testing, I'm gonna give our main container margin top of, I don't know, something like 8. Yeah, that's good. Let's probably even use 10 just to make sure. So then we can be sure that we see something. So we can go this way about, but actually this should like be home right now, but it isn't. The point is we haven't actually added any kind of routing or navigation to those elements. This was intentional because I didn't like the way the buttons here were navigating. So instead of using the Material UI routing in here, I actually recommend that we use the standard React router way, which is using a navlink. Hopefully this added the import from the React router DOM. So for this, I want to do the navlink to, and this is now coming from the item of our iteration, item.link key, because we're iterating. Let's also just use item.label. We probably don't have the same label twice. And then we can wrap our navigation link around the list item. And if we do it like this, we're gonna see that we have this ugly underline, but at least at the bottom it now shows where we're navigating. However, to get rid of this, we can say on our navlink, please use the style text decoration, none. There we go. And the underline is gone. And now I can go to the home page and I can go to the about page. And with that, we have implemented our draw component using Material UI. There are just a few more things missing in terms of margin and padding. And then, of course, we also need to talk about the whole web UI. We're going to get to that in a second. So for now, this is our starting point, and let's focus again on our app bar and container. So right now, I don't really like the padding up here that we have on small screens. So I really would like to get rid of that. So for this, let's target our container and let's give it some styling as well. We're going to give it padding. And since we only want to apply this to small screens, I'm going to add an object and only add 0 for the smallest breakpoints, which now moves our icon here. Once we get to bigger breakpoints, like this, we notice that we once again got some padding. So this is the whole idea of using the XS breakpoint in here. We could also use something like MD, LG, XL, but I only want to have no padding on the smallest devices. Okay, we got our button up here. Also, I would like to have a bit of padding in that button. So let's add to the icon button some margin right. So the text moves a bit to the right because otherwise it doesn't really look good to me. And now we're going to do something interesting. So this is pretty much now the start of our web navigation. We're going to say display SM starting at the small to medium devices breakpoint. We don't want to display this icon button anymore. What happens is we make this bigger, the menu is gone. No more menu. Because at that point we want to show our very own top navigation. It's as easy as that. This also means for our typography element here, I want to include this as well. So I'm going to include SX. And I'm going to say display on XS devices. I want to display this. No, I actually don't want to. Because on small devices, I really would like to show the page name up there. I only want to show this on big pages. So let's do none on small and block on SM. That means it shouldn't be displayed on small, right? And only once we got to the web version. Yeah, that's how I want it to. That also means we probably need some kind of typography for small devices. So we're going to do the same, just in the opposite way. Another typography element, this time block on small devices, none on small to medium devices. And do we need, I think we need some kind of, we're going to flex layout, but we're going to see this in a second. For now, let's see, we can put in like test in here. And then we see, yeah, we're displaying test here and rapid memes here. Perfect, perfect. Now, how do we get the page name? That's interesting. There are different ways with the React router. The easiest way in our case is actually to create just a little function. Let's call this page name. And then what we're going to do is we simply switch from the current location, the name. To get the current location, we can actually use the React router and the hook use location. There we go. And then in our function, we can switch the current location dot path name. And with the path name, what we're going to check is the case slash. In that case, we're going to return rapid memes because we're pretty much on the home page. Then we got the case we're on the about page. There we want to have about as our header, and if we're on the create page, we want to say create meme. And then we're gonna probably have a default. Hopefully this shouldn't happen in our case. That we can just return an empty string. Great. Now we can use this function page name simply directly in our typography element where we just had test. Where is it? Down here. So there we go, page name. And let's see, we're on the about page. I move to the home page. It shows rapid memes. And we still don't have a button to go to the actual create page. So we should add a cool button. And I want to have the button up here. But once again, this is like a mobile thing. I don't really want to have it here, so this should be somehow different. this should be just a mobile button. So after our typography element, let's add another box element. And for our box element, we're gonna have some specific styling again. Display. It should only be displayed on the smallest of all devices and not on anything above. There we go. And what we're gonna put in here is another nav link to, and we can now use a fixed value in here. I simply want to navigate to /create. And I'm just gonna put in an icon button. So I hope at this point you kind of get a feeling for Material UI and how we can do things. And it hopefully becomes a bit more like fluent and you can run pretty much on your own already. I'm gonna give this the color white as well. And within the icon button, I'm gonna say the auto fix high icon. As a result, we see an icon appear up there. However, that's not really the position I wanted to have it in. So therefore, what we're gonna do is to our typography element, we're gonna add flex grow. There we go. 1. This means the typography element will take up most of the flex space and our icon will move towards the end, exactly like this. We're actually gonna put this already into our other typography element because that's the same behavior we want for a web interface. And now we can go to create meme because right now we're on /create. And with our draw, I can still go back to the home page and I can go back to the about page. So that means at this point, we pretty much, I think we finished our mobile navigation because this is a swipeable draw. I can also, not on the web, but let's see. Going into the dev tools and making it like this, I should be able to exactly swipe this in back. So this is a pretty nice mobile UI. Okay, let's close this. And the only thing missing is our web UI. So let's talk about the web UI. In terms of our container setup and the app bar, I think everything else is pretty much finished. However, after our specific box with a nav link to create on mobile devices, we can now have a block or a box with nav links for the web. So let's close the box. This should be not displayed on small devices, but only on bigger ones. And what we're going to put in here is the same iteration we had before where we created our draw component, only that it now looks different. So I'm going to copy this part over, put it into the box. Of course, I don't want list items in here. Then we already anyway got the nav link. To key style, that's cool. We probably need some kind of text decoration. Let's just for testing put in item.label. Let's see, yeah, this is certainly we want to have white text up there. So let's change this to be color white. And we already got this. That's nice. At this point, I could also probably put this to the side here and make this in exactly the opposite way because the left-hand side of the header isn't that interesting right now. And I also can hide the activity bar, so we even got more space. Well, I could also, like, could I make this smaller? The line numbers would probably, like, this is taking up at least 5% of the view. I'm gonna investigate. Can I hide line? Hide line controls without turning on Zen mode. It also hides the line. I don't want to mess this around right now. And also, like, we're not in Zen mode right now. Anyway, let's go back to this. So we got the labels up here, meme of the day and about. They certainly don't look good yet. So let's create another component. We could use just a standard button, but I thought it would be cool to have like a custom button up there. So let's move out of our header component and create a color button. I'm just gonna call it like that. And now we can finally use the style library that we installed from Emotion in the beginning. What we're gonna do is we're gonna apply a custom styling to a button. So we're gonna directly add the button component in here. We're gonna say this will get the usual button props. And then we also got the theme in here. So now I need to be careful to get all my brackets right. We got the button props. And this is the theme. So this is how the setup should look like in the beginning. Why are you complaining about? Probably because theme is declared, yeah, because we don't do anything. The only thing we really want to do in here is actually define our own styling. So we could also do this with the SX prop, but I wanted to show you like it's also possible on another way. So for now, I'm gonna just do it like this. I feel like I made we got this around, and then we should have one more bracket here and here. Is this better? Yeah, this is better. And now I can already start and use my color button in here. Instead of our item.label, we can now simply say color button. And I'm gonna put the item label into the color button. Then we see we have now buttons from Angular material with this nice glare, and they actually already work. That's pretty nice. I didn't expect this to work it that fast. Nice. I also think we don't really need the color now anymore in here since we set that to the button anyway. However, what I really want to like to have in here is marking the active button. And for this, the only solution I found was to use the class name here on the nav link, because the Angular router actually has an easy way to do it. So what we can do in here now is check is active. And if something is active, we're gonna add the link active class, and otherwise we don't do anything. So this is the way we do it with the React Router version 6. And since now one of these buttons usually gets the link active, we can define this in like a header CSS file. So just to get a bit used to other things, we're gonna mix some things. Let's call this header.css in here, and let's put in link active, and we actually also need to target the button. And what I want is to have no text decoration, because right now, no, actually, I do want to have. Sorry, I was on the wrong thinking here. I do want to have the text decoration underlined if that button is active. So it shouldn't be just a button. It should really be like, well, like a nav element, yeah, well, you know. So let's import header.css. And once we put the header import in here, we should see that everything gets the text decoration. That's great. The problem is that, well, the meme of the day is just slash, and this is /about. And if we prevent something like this to happen, what we need to tell the navlink is to end looking for something, and then it turns to this. So then it has really an exact match and doesn't look for anything else. And now I can switch between the meme of the day and the about page. Now there's of course now like primary button missing. So I wanted to do this manually. I'm gonna just put it in here. After our iteration, I'm just gonna make another navlink. We can also use end to create. So that was the route we also had. I'm gonna give us this style in a second, but for now, let's just make this a button and call this create meme. So I want to have some kind of primary standout button out here. Now, without anything, this doesn't really look like a material button. So let's say this is the variant contained. Okay, looks okay, but I don't want to have the underline in there. So to get rid of the underline, once again, we can set the style on our navlink to text decoration none, because the button clearly doesn't need to have an underline. I also don't like, you can see this little elevation with a shadow here from Material UI. I don't really like this. I don't really like this, but there's an easy way to disable this, which is called disable elevation. And then the shadow is gone. So now it looks completely the same like the others, pretty much. We might have some kind of effect here for the others. We're gonna define this in a second. But for this create meme, I also wanna have a little icon. We can do this directly on the button, and we can call this end icon. And for the end icon, I'm gonna set the, I think we use this, right? Out of fix high. Okay, then we already got that. Now we just need a cool color for the button to stand out. So let's use color secondary. And then you see it's slowly everything in our application is coming together. Did we use like pink in our index? I think, right? Well, it certainly gets the attention of people, right? Okay. The color is white, that's fine. But for our, oh, and most importantly, we can use it. But for those two buttons, we don't have any kind of effect yet. So let's set this on our button, since we defined it up here. We also maybe have something like margin right of 8. So a bit of separation here between them. And then we can once again have and hover. So when we hover over it, we're gonna set the background color to, let's say some kind of blue 500. Did you add the auto import? Yes, you did. So let's see. Did you really? Like, or did I make a typo in here? Let's see. It certainly isn't using any kind of effect right now. Create. Oh yeah, I should probably call this background color. Couldn't you just give me something? Yeah. So there we go. There is the hover effect. It should probably be a bit more like 700 or 800 even. Yeah, maybe even 900. I don't know. You can decide. Pick whatever you like. I think 800 should be, yeah, that should be nice. Then we got the underline. We can go to meme. We can go to about. We can go to the creator. And most importantly, we got everything nicely aligned using our flexbox in here. So probably we don't want to have the inside. Let's check. That is probably a bit too much. So we could set this on our container element. For the box, we're already using everything that we need. Where's the container? Oh, this is actually here. There we go. We already got the padding. We got mixed with. We got the toolbar. I think we could keep it for now. Let's see what happens actually when we go to a small device now. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. We're on the create meme homepage about, and I can go to the creator all the time. Like this class, it took us some time. I don't know how much time, like pretty much an hour. But this is one of the most important pieces of our UI, because this is the responsive navigation, and this is certainly hard. This is not easy to implement. So it's okay that this part took us quite long. And if you want to get this right, it just takes that time. So here we got our great navigation. If we want to add here and there padding, we got the classes in here and we can navigate everywhere. So for the next part, it's time to focus on our meme of the day. All right, next step is to get started with our pages, and to create a somewhat same looking UI, we first of all gonna add another component for a hero text. So I'm just gonna call this directly hero text.tsx file. And within our hero text, we're gonna define a simple component. We can actually directly export the cons hero text. So using the other way, then you can also see the differences between how you can set up a component. I'm gonna pass some props to our component, and it will simply return a typography element that we're gonna then style a bit more. typography, there we go. Let's call this one my hero text. In order to see this, let's quickly bring up the home page and let's just edit on the home page. We're gonna put the home page in a fragment as well, probably surround this with brackets, and then in the home page we're gonna put hero text, and I want to pass some text to the hero component, so let's just say text already in here, and we're gonna call this discover the best memes. And now we just need to make sure that we can use that value inside of our hero text. So let's go in here, and what we're going to use instead of my hero text, so at the moment it should render my hero text. Instead we now go with props.text. So then we have a nice reusable component, discover the best memes. That's exactly how I envisioned this to look like. Also on mobile devices should look pretty much the same. Yes, nice. How cool can I make this? Like, yeah, that's pretty, maybe that's a bit too much. Anyway, for our typography element here on the hero text page, we're gonna now give this the variant h1. So this should be really a big header. I probably don't want this where we added this background. We don't really need this anymore, I think. There we go. So no more background. And then we can actually play around with a bunch of things that we can add to a typography element. So first of all, I'm going to say please align left. I think for reading text, align to the left is usually still better. Then we're going to go ahead with some styling. And we're going to say that this element should always have a bit of margin top as well. It should have a background color. So we'll make this something fancy. I'm gonna give this the font weight. Hello, is there still code completion active, or am I left alone here? Thanks. Font weight 500, making this a bit bigger. And then I'm gonna bring this in because I don't want to type this. A background image with a linear gradient. However, this now turns the whole background into an image. And what we're going to say is we're going to say background repeat, then we're going to say the background clip, and we set this to text. And notice it becomes better. It becomes better. While we had the gradient, and now it's gone. If we now say WebKit background clip to text, and then finally WebKit text fill color, and now you see where this is going, transparent. We're gonna get what we had in the background, but since we're having a transparent text, we pretty much see the background color. So there's a nice little thing we could do. We could still set the background color as well, but I don't think this would do anything to our text, right? I didn't notice any difference. Okay, cool. On top of that, we should now be able to see this. Yeah. And let's also move. This is annoying that it always brings up the bar, so let's put it there again. What we can notice as well is that on bigger screens, we're using the space available pretty nicely. And on small screens, the text becomes smaller. And again, reminder, this comes simply because we defined this in our app in the index TSX, where we created the theme and said, please use responsive font sizes for our theme. Otherwise, we would, if I can pretty much comment this out, we had a gigantic font on mobile devices, and only through this line we were able to get nice responsive font sizes. Okay, we can now integrate this in different pages. So let's probably start with the easy pages. Let's just do a quick about page so we can get that off our chest. We got the hero text. We're done with the hero text. So let's go to the about. I'm gonna wrap this in a fragment, and I'm gonna start once again with the hero text. Text is now just about, and then we have a beautiful header for our about page as well. Then we're gonna wrap the rest of that page in a container. I'm gonna actually give that a maximum width of MD. I'm just gonna say, I don't know, something like typography, an epic meme creator by Simon Grimm. Okay, so then we got that text. Well, I don't know if we need that box, but I think a little offset could be good in that case. Probably also want to have it like a bit more margin. So let's give to the container another margin top of 8. And display flex. So that should hopefully align our text. Actually, it didn't align our text. We could also give this a fixed height, but I don't think we need any of this. So let's just keep this for an about page, really. I just want to have this kind of set up for all the pages now. So let's bring this also over to our creator page. Oh, I don't want to. Where did I? No. Let's just copy the read. No. You're using shortcuts. Make sure you really understand what you're doing. Let's go back to the creator. Like this will be. Please add all the missing imports for this page, and I'm gonna call this create your meme or something. I don't know, I'm gonna fine tune this later. So that should appear right here. Typography, yeah, well, let's keep it for now. We're gonna probably change this later on the creator page. Also, like, I don't know if we really want this. I don't think so, actually. Let's remove this. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then we also got the home page. So let's check the home page again. On the home page, we also got discover the best memes. Yeah, and I want this container snippet. So after this, gonna put the container with a max width MD. I'm gonna keep it like it is for now. We're gonna add the rest of all the missing things. And then we should have, where default home? Oh yeah, export default home. Okay, there we go. So once we got this, we should go about, discover the best memes, create your meme. That's nice, but we also got the error page, and we should handle that as well. So that at the moment says just 404. Also, yeah, whatever I do, it will just say 404. That is because the error page is actually not part of the routing. So we need to include what we have in the app.tsx as well. So we're gonna have on the error page, not only the return with all the content, please just add this. I'm gonna call this error, and here 404. We're not going to have this, but we also probably want to have the header component. And since we made this a reusable component, no problem putting this in. It just looks like this. So we should probably have the same or a little box layout around. This looks fancy. I don't know why. Okay. So we should probably wrap our rest of the things we have in a box. I'm gonna say a little padding of 3. Put that box around our huge container here. Oh, just add the import automatically. I've used it now 10 times. Container. Ah, yeah, we actually need to use whatever we use inside the homepage, right? So let me check this out. We could probably add a typography 404, not your meme, and use the variant H2. So that looks like this. Okay. I think we should probably does the container need a bit more? No, actually not the container, but this one right here, right? Yeah. Well, I think we can keep the error page. It's like, and also like the error should probably be part of the container. So how do we set up our app page? Let's quickly get this right. Okay, we usually have it like this, header and then the container. And we're gonna just do it exactly like this on this page as well. Header, container, max width, And within there, we're gonna have the hero text if we actually want some kind of hero text, and this. So now that page, yeah, that works. That's our 404 page, about, home page, create page. And if we go off the path, we end up on the error page. We're gonna have a link to back, but since we have the header bar, that shouldn't be a problem. Now we don't have a fallback actually for mobile, but on mobile devices, we shouldn't be able to go there in the first place. So this is our hero text component and also the error page. That means we can now continue with the interesting home page. And on the home page, what we want to display is at the bottom a little iteration of memes. And at the top, we want to have a swiper component where we can swipe through trending memes, which we're going to get from Rapid API. So for that, we will certainly need pretty soon a new file. Let's do a new component. I don't know why this always loses focus for me. Hooks. And within, we're going to add a new file, useAPI.ts. And we can already prepare this. So let's call this export const use API. This will be our API that we're going to use in a second. However, for the homepage, we also want to include Swiper. So Swiper.js is a pretty common package for integrating exactly these kind of Swiper elements. And we can get started simply, where is React? There we go, npm install Swiper. I don't want to install the whole page, I just want to install Swiper. Thank you. Once we are ready to use Swiper, we're gonna have to import the Swiper slides. We're gonna do this directly on our homepage. So let's put it up here. And we also need the Swiper styling. So let's put it below it. So that means we now want to create a little swiper layout in our container. For now, we won't care about data or loading. Let's just use the swiper like it is. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to say anything. I just want to do the standard setup for now. So swiper slide, first slide, and I'm going to do a second one, calling this one second slide. So let's see if we can already see this on our page. If we go back to the meme of the day, yeah, somewhat. But what we notice is it's the hero text. Yeah, we probably don't need that typography in here anyway. So then we have our slides in here. However, I can't slide here, but I can't slide here. The problem is that by default, these slides don't take up the full height. So let's add a bit of CSS, and this is really special for the home CSS. So what I'm gonna say is Swiper should by default use a height of 100%. And I'm also gonna import this on my home page, home.css. So now when this is added, we got home CSS and we got this. And of course the Swiper slide should use the same height. Therefore, I should probably add a second one for .swiper slide. I'm gonna say display flex direction column, and I want to center everything. So align items center, and as well justify content center. So when I've done this, I should see everything in the center. Still, it's not using the full height. Well, we anyway gonna have bigger images, so I could now probably set this height to 100% as well. Or I could set this to 100 view height instead. Yeah, then it would work if I set it to 100 view height. But anyway, we're gonna have some content in the swiper later, so we don't really need to care about this. So we're just gonna keep this to 100% and remove this, and then we have our centered slides. Do we want to set up the content first or the swiper? Probably we're gonna do a bit of content. So what we need now is a little images. You can find them on the GitHub repository. I looked them up for the meme API. I actually don't know exactly where it was. But anyway, let's create in the public folder a new folder image. And within that image folder, you can put some images. So I'm going to bring in these. These look like these, the standard meme thumbnails, which I grabbed from the page online. I'm going to put this link on the GitHub repository as well. So now we got these images. Actually, I noticed that we don't need them in this step. In this step, we're actually loading the trending images, right? Which is even more interesting because that means we can head over to Rapid API and log in. So let's log in. I'm gonna log in with Google. And once I'm logged in, I will search for Reddit memes. This is a nice API which we can use. I should be subscribed. If you're not, you should simply go to, I think, click subscribe, or under pricing, click subscribe, and then you can select your pricing. I'm gonna go with this one, which has 100 free requests per day. And so during development, you don't want to exceed that limit. So here's what I did during testing, which I found pretty like a good idea. First, let's create a new folder. I'm gonna call this folder dummy. So we can probably remove this in the end. Then I'm gonna check out, for example, for the trending memes, we usually need to make a request like this. So we could check out JavaScript with Axios. This is pretty much how our request should look like, but I don't wanna fire this off all the time. Instead, I wanna grab this example response. So I'm gonna copy this over, and under dummy, I create a new file and call this trending.json. And I'm gonna put on exactly the response that we get back from Reddit. Now, we can go over to our useAPI.ts and create a new function, getTrending. So usually this function would actually return all the trending memes. And if we want to, we could even create a nice little interface based on this. So let's do this, export interface trending meme. So really using or embracing TypeScript. Created is obviously a number. Okay, let's do this. Title is a string. URL is also a string. And then we have anything else. Well, we don't really need subreddit, so let's just get rid of it. And then our getTrending will now not really make an HTTP call, although we could probably already copy this over. It's pretty long. Anyway, we're gonna keep it. Might be helpful in the future. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna return our own promise. We could like, basically we could just now import the trending data. So import trending from dummy/trending.json, and I could just return this. However, then I don't have an asynchronous call in here, and I really want to make it as close to the reality as possible if I fake it. So I'm gonna return a new promise instead with resolve and reject as params that I'm gonna able to be called, and I'm gonna set a little timeout just for fake purpose here. And we can later play around with this. Let's just set it to 2 seconds for now. And then I'm gonna resolve the promise with our trending data. That's it. And to finally make this available, we also need to add this to our useAPI hook. I'm gonna add a return and get trending as a function in there. And now we can move over to our homepage. And on the homepage, once the page loads, so let's do this right in the use effect. Use effect, I'm not gonna use that snippet because I really don't like that snippet. In the use effect, we're gonna load the memes. So let's define load memes. There will be a function. And then we're gonna call load memes here. We pass an empty array of dependencies. Then we can call load memes in here, and then we just need to import our function from our own hook. So get trending comes from no, this is the import at the top. We're gonna hopefully get that in more automatically. There we go. At the same time, if we're loading some data, we probably want to have some kind of loading state. So let's say loading and set loading using the use state hook. I'm gonna set this to false in the beginning. Okay, on top of that, we probably also want to keep track of the memes. So let's add memes and set memes up here. Once again, use state, and we can now strongly type this if we want to. So we could use trending memes, so we get back an array of trending memes. There we go. Did you add the import? Yes, nice. So load memes. Load memes. In load memes, we're gonna call get trending, and this is an asynchronous call. So we're gonna either have to use a then block, so we could use it with then, or we could use async await. So I'm gonna mark this as an asynchronous function and call const results equals await get trending. I should probably spell this right. And then after this, I'm gonna finally say home data results. Okay, that was a lot of coding. Let's check this out. I'm gonna open this, gonna not open that one, but the console. And I'm gonna refresh it, and after 2 seconds, I get this back. We see the log twice because currently in React strict mode, which we have enabled in our index TSX right here, use effect is triggered twice. Don't mind this too much, or remove strict mode, whatever you prefer, but I really don't care about this. So let's just keep it. So we got back the data here, and that means we can set this data. We can call set memes with the results, and it should be a whole, yeah, it should be, yeah, nice. Is happy about the typing. I can also set loading to false. I actually don't know if we're using loading. Oh, come on. You've been happy, argument of type unknown. Like, you've been happy until I made that additional line. Everything was fine. Because of get trending, or why are you not happy? Let's check out. I could give my use API function the correct return type if you want to. If that makes you happy, let's say this will return a promise trending meme array. Will this make you happy? Yeah, kind of, right? That makes you happy, nice. Okay, with that result in place, we should be able to create this little swiper up there. So let's go back to the swiper. Instead of using swiper slide like this, we now, of course, want to map our memes. So memes.map. And for every meme, I'm going to probably use another bracket here. For every meme we want to display, of course, a swiper slide. We're going to set the key to, let's say, meme.title. And we see this now because we defined the meme interface. That was the whole point of doing that interface. And now I can use image source, set this to meme.url. And I'm going to say else, I don't know, meme. And then close this. And let's see what happens. Nice, we get back data, and because this is pretty much exactly faking the API call, we can later easily replace this, and during development don't touch the rapid API limits for this API. There's another one, great. So that means swiper is working. Once again, make sure you add swiper CSS up here, otherwise this won't work. However, we can make this even better. I really want to add pagination to swiper, and I can do this with pagination true. But then we also need to set up an array of modules. So we're gonna do this. Besides pagination, I actually also want to loop this. No, I actually don't want to loop this today. Let's not do this. But I want to automatically play this. So loop would mean like after the 2 you can infinitely go around. Well, you can also have like autoplay, then automatically after I think 3 seconds it would go to the next slide. But once again, to use both of these we need to define the modules. And the modules here are pagination and now also autoplay. You're not happy about that? Well, you're not happy about this at all. I also wonder where pagination was imported. Yeah, that's not the package where I want this from. So what we want to import this is we want to import both pagination and autoplay from, guess what, Swiper. Probably like this. Autoplay. Oh yeah, it's a lowercase p. Yeah, and then I probably made the same mistake in our code here. So let's replace this, and now after 2 seconds it comes up, it shows, and I think after 3 seconds it should automatically play to the next autoplay true. Well, anyway, we don't really have to use autoplay. I think it should lose. Probably I should do some kind of reload for this. Usually it should work exactly like this. However, anyway, not a huge fan of automatically playing something, so I'm going to keep it like this. But what we notice is that we actually don't see the bullets here because we have 2 swipes. We usually with pagination should see the second swipe, and there's a little fix for this. So the fix for this is to have Swiper padding bottom. Actually, we already got this up there, right? So we can add it padding bottom. Let's just do 30 pixels. And then we should be able... I should probably decrease the time here. Let's just do 200 milliseconds. But I feel like the imports are not yet working from Swiper, because otherwise we at least would see some kind of pagination in there. So let's once reload. Nope. npm run start. Probably there was a problem since we installed Swiper. Hello, are you still there? Yeah, now you're there. Okay, Swiper is there. The only thing that's missing right now is the ... at the bottom. Also, I think we're gonna have a problem with the width of that image. It should probably be a bit bigger. Let's see. On small screens, yeah, on small screens it shows this. So let's try and fix this with a media query. So we only want to query and target smaller screens. So we're going to use maximum width of 600. In those cases, I want to set the Swiper slide image to use the full available width and use height auto. Because in that cases, I'm just going to cover the whole page. In the opposite case, when it's bigger, when we're on min width 600, I want to have it to be automatically using the width and using 100% of the height instead, because having full width just looks horrible. So there we go. Okay, I still don't see the bottom area of the pagination. I don't know exactly why it's the case, but we're gonna probably figure this out in a second. Is there a reason for this? Maybe because there is nothing else on the screen. Let's see, we got the container. Let's say if I give the container a specific height, would this change? Like if I give it an initial height of 50 view height, well, that would actually make this a bit bigger. Not too bad. Not too bad of an idea, Simon. Not too bad. Not the final fix for this. We got pagination true, and I got pagination in the modules. We're gonna probably see it in a second. Usually I'd like to just continue, and then at some point I noticed that I made an obvious mistake somewhere. So I'm now gonna also add a little box down here. So here we're gonna have a meme selector. That's gonna be one of our next tasks. I'm gonna give this a little bit margin to the top. Maybe that's gonna reveal. No, it's not gonna. Not yet revealing our pagination. Where is the pagination Swiper? Pagination. Did I have a typo in there? No, I can't really, and I can't really have a typo in here. So I don't know. Probably like between yesterday and today, they already released a new package. That usually happens to me. Anyway, what I want to do is on the home page, we might have some kind of loading time. We set this to something really slow, but it could be something bigger. And if you have the possibility of a loading time, what you could do is show a skeleton. And we're gonna do this now in here. So I'm actually not gonna set loading, I'm gonna set loading to true right here in the beginning. And once we got the memes, I would usually say set loading false. However, I'm gonna comment this out. So we only see the loading case for the moment. So under the hero text, I'm gonna add, if we're loading end, so this is the short form, and display this kind of content. So then I'm gonna display the skeleton from material UI. I actually don't know. Yeah, by default it looks like this. It has some kind of effect to itself. Where's my skeleton now? There it is. I'm gonna give this the variant rectangular. So this it looks like this, and I'm gonna give it. We want to do it with SX probably, or is there no SX on this? It is. So let's do a width of like, okay, no more completion for me today. It's gone. Height 100% as well. So it should fill up the whole element. Loading is true. Loading skeleton. Where is my skeleton? Probably it really only works if I directly set the width on the element. That's interesting. No problem. Yeah, I guess it wants this. It's a special case. 100%. Let's see. I also feel like sometimes my code is just not updated in here. Like where's my skeleton? Where is my skeleton? Either my skeleton, there's the skeleton, it should be there. The skeleton should probably be in our container, right? Otherwise it's gonna be completely misplaced. So this is where we wanna have the skeleton. However, during loading, we certainly don't wanna display the swiper. So if we're not loading end, in that case, we're gonna display the swiper. So I'm gonna wrap it in another call. So then we only have the skeleton. And once we got the data, oh, we're not setting it to fault, right? Yeah, that's best case. We got this for 2 seconds, a loading skeleton, and then we're back here. We could probably also have this more sophisticated, but a skeleton is pretty nice in those loading situations. And in our case, it shows that something is happening. There is some kind of content loading. And again, it works on all screens. Like it works here, and it works on bigger screens, and also our swiper component works. The only thing that's not working is pagination. Still not 100% sure why we don't see pagination yet. We need to import pagination from swiper and then just use it. So really not sure about that one. But we're gonna figure this out eventually along our course. Maybe I've just used some wrong color and it is there, but it is like invis. We could probably check this out. Swiper slide next, swiper wrapper, swiper pagination bullets. So they are actually there, but they don't really have any kind of height, like height. I'm gonna probably check this out. And then we're gonna fix this. But now the next step after creating this initial loading is our meme selector, which should now finally use the images. So go to the GitHub repository and grab the images, put them under public image, and then we can continue. The idea now is to have a list of different thumbnails that we can click in here, and then we would dive directly into our meme creator. And since on the meme creator page we want to have the same selection, we're gonna put all of this into one component. So let's create a new file under components, and let's call this meme selector.tsx. The meme selector tsx comes of course with const meme selector. This will have some kind of properties, but we're going to define this later. And as always, export default meme selector. So there we get started. Now, there are different ways to approach this. First of all, we want to integrate the second API. And this is pretty cool because we can just use any kind of APIs from Rapid API. And we're going to always just need our Rapid API key and the Rapid API host. So this makes integrating different APIs into your project pretty easy. And you can have like 10 different APIs from Rapid API in your project, and the integration, it just all goes to Rapid API. So let's check for meme. I think there's something, yeah, the meme generator. That's the API that we want to use. The problem is there are different routes. There's of course the one to generate a meme in the end with a top and bottom text. We won't really talk about fonts today. We're going to keep it like it is. But we're going to talk about get images, because this returns an array of like names, whatever these kind of names are. The problem is if you make a request to this endpoint, you get a list of like 100 different images. And to then finally get one of those images, you would have to call like generate meme without any kind of text, and then you would get the actual meme. But that fires off a lot of API calls. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to first of all fake the result again. So we see for get images, we get back a list of, like these are just strings. So let's do this. New file under dummy and call this list.json. And because I already picked out like 10 different images, we're going to use these. So these names were included in the list. And therefore, we can just create a JSON file with these names. 10 guy, whatever, advice dog, aliens, bad luck Brian, some of the like the old school memes. So this is where I grew up with, like kind of. And then we're gonna go back to our hooks file, because we're gonna think about how we would call this in reality and how we're gonna call it during testing. So let's add a new function, const get memes. And this will return something. That will actually return just like a string array. But actually we also want to attach an image. So that makes this a bit more complicated, and like we're kind of enhancing the information. We don't only want to return like the names, we really want to also return the image value. So therefore we follow the same pattern with return new promise, resolve, reject, arrow, set timeout, and we're gonna set this for, I don't know, like let's do a real short timeout here. And we're gonna first of all grab the result, and this is by going through the memes. So we're gonna import the memes here as well. Let's say memes from list.json. And we're now gonna define another interface. I'm gonna call just meme, and that will be the name. So a string and an image, and that image does not yet exist inside of memes. So we're gonna have to create that, and we create this by iterating our memes. So result equal memes.map, and for every meme, which is pretty much just a string, we want to instead return an object with name meme image. And now the path to the actual image, which should be under /image and then meme.jpg. Okay, that's one too much. Okay, and then probably after our iteration, we're gonna call resolve with our result. So again, we could now, instead of memes, have the response from the API in here. That would work pretty nicely. We can't forget to call get memes in here, and then we can head over to the meme selector. Let's close this, close that. Where are we? Yeah, there's export default. Yeah, there's the meme selector. So on the meme selector, we can directly dive into get memes using our own hook, and then use effect. So we can, in the beginning, load our memes. Const load memes. Once again, if we have an asynchronous call or anything, we're gonna wrap this in another function and then call load memes here at the end, and make sure that this is only called once or twice because of the strict mode. Okay, let's also check out the log meanwhile, and then we can go ahead once again async in here, and then we can await the results equals await get memes. And then let's say my memes results. So there we go. We're not even using the selector yet, right? So let's put it into our home page. So here where we have meme selector, we're gonna put the actual meme selector. There we go. Did you add the import? Please. It's not that hard. Cannot be used as a... Oh yeah, probably because our meme selector does not really have a return yet. Yeah, so let's return something. Fragment, and then let's use typography, variant, h2, select your meme. There we go. There we got it. That point we also have my memes, image name, and we should be able to create a simple grid based on this. So the grid component is also pretty nice within Material UI. So let's add this now here, grid, and then we're just gonna close it. We're gonna see how we can apply different attributes, but for now we're just gonna go memes.map, and for every meme we're gonna create one grid item. Actually, I'm gonna call these, I wanna do a special kind of item in here. So usually you could just have like, I think it's called, well, pretty much you could have like anything. Like, let's just do image source equals meme dot, yeah, that should be memes. And then we got meme dot, oh, come on. Oh, we don't even have that yet. Oh, I forgot about that. Sorry. We, of course, need memes and set memes to keep track of our state. Sorry about that. So use state. Yeah, well, we can just keep it like that. And then once we're done here, we can call set memes with the results. And if we want to give this a type once again, this should be an array of memes like this. What's the better? Oh yeah, we probably get memes. Oh, this is not the place I wanted to go. Within get memes, we should also say the return type is once again a promise and an array of memes. And if we specify it like that, they should be happy in here as well. This could probably be null, yeah, but it isn't. Then we got the image in here, and then let's see. Now we got the array here in the grid, and at this point they all have, they are all too small. So I think if we just add item in here. Now, while this looks pretty interesting, it's not really helpful in reality because we actually need click listeners here. So we need to be able to click on certain grid elements, and we probably also need to mark an active element. So once we get to our creator, we also want to show which of those memes is actually currently active. So 2 cases, and we're gonna cover them. First of all, let's focus on the UI of those grid items. And to make them more appealing, we will actually once again create a styled version of that grid item, just like we did before for, I think, the button. We're gonna go ahead and call this meme grid item, and using the styled function right here. I don't think I want to, yeah, that's a better import. Like the first one was probably too fast. We got grid props in here. And now I once again need to make sure that I don't mess up my brackets. So we got theme in here, then we got an arrow function, and we got more brackets. That looks kind of good to me. I think this one comes from, we got that import as well, great. So what we want to achieve is on hover. So when we go over one of those items, now hover, it sounds interesting, hover. That probably isn't, is that a thing? I don't know. I'm not an English native speaker, so I don't know if this is actually a word. But once we go over something, we want to have a pointer. As well, we probably want to have the image take up the full available width, so we can do it like this as well. please use 100% and a comma here. And now we can directly dive back to our grid. And instead of just using images, we use our meme grid item. So inside of the meme grid item, we're still gonna keep our image, and as an alt tag, I don't know, we're gonna keep the meme.name, and then it should already look somewhat different. Well, it's taking up the whole width because we haven't specified how much of the available space a meme grid item actually takes. So on the outside, we want to define the container, and then for every other item, we want to define how many of the 12 available columns it should use. So it's a standard grid setup. Therefore, let's put on the grid container, and we also want to have a little spacing of, let's say, 2, and probably we're also going to have a bit of padding top. Let's do 8. And now it looks once again like this, but we notice our cursor turns into a pointer. That's good. Now for every meme grid item, I want to say that this is an item of the grid. So it becomes like this already. And now we can begin and set the specific width for different breakpoints. So for small breakpoints, I want to have 2 memes per row. So exactly like this. Then once we get bigger, we want to have something else. We probably have, for empty, we're going to have like, I think we could have 3, so that means we're gonna have 4, 4, 4, 8, 12. And then we're probably for XL, we can have 4 in a row, so we're gonna have 3. And then we have a nice responsive grid, 2, 3, and 4 on bigger screens. And again, cursor becomes a pointer down here. Yeah, the quality of those thumbnails isn't great, so probably you can find better images if you're building something like this. But anyway, it's a responsive grid. It's not so much about the quality and the things of the images. For every meme grid item, we should also specify the key because we're iterating this. So let's use meme.name. They should be unique as well. And then it becomes interesting because we want to be able to select memes. So we add an on-click listener here. And on click, we want to do something. That's like always the case. Now, what we want to do is we want to call, let's call a function const meme selected. And then we'll just pass the meme to the function, and then let's log for now select meme. So on click, we want to call this function, passing the meme to the function, and then we can, we should see this in the log, right? So I click this, I click that, first world problems, whatever. Cool. Now, what we want to do as well is I want to pass that information back to the parent, because when I'm on this homepage here, we want to dive directly into our creator. Anyway, it's an action the homepage needs to take. If I'm on the meme creator, I also want to let the meme creator know that something was selected. So we're going to define inside the properties for our meme selector now, interface meme props. We're going to define a function onSelect with a meme going to void. Also, we can keep track of the active meme. So then we will be able to actually set this as well from the outside. Yeah, that should work, I think. Do we set this to something initial? I don't know. Okay, let's assign this. So react.functional component gets the meme props, and then we get access to our props in here. And now whenever we select a meme, we will simply call props.onSelect with a meme, and something will happen. The parent component will do something, most likely. On top of that, the active meme, do we need to set this in the beginning? No, I don't think so. No, it doesn't need to be set. So now it complains about the homepage not implementing meme selected, of course, because we need to add that functionality to home. So let's add a new function const meme selected here. Again, this one will actually get the meme. And we can, we need to import the meme interface. And then on our meme selector component, we can now say onSelect please call with a meme our function meme selected. So now we are back like at the top, and the parent component will know. Let's get back here. Click this at the top. We get this information. And this is pretty nicely because now from here we can navigate to the right page. We're going to do this directly right now. So let's add the use navigate hook from the React router DOM. So const navigate equals use navigate from React router DOM. And then we're going to navigate to that page. So we don't only want to navigate to the create path, but this is like the beginning, but we also want to pass information about that meme to the page. So we can, when we click on something here on the home page, we are directly inside the right meme editor on that page. And to do that, we're gonna pass this as query params. And we can easily do this. So we're gonna say search in here and create search params. They are probably used somehow different usually, but we can reuse them for our own case. I'm just gonna call this meme and I will pass meme.name. And I think we need to make them a string to make navigate happy, don't you? Yeah, now you're happy. Okay, cool. Let's see what happens if I now select a meme here. So I'm gonna select this, we're here, but more interesting is the URL, which looks like this. Localhost/create ? Meme first world problems. And that means on the create page, I will be easily able to select the right meme now. That's nice. This is exactly what I wanted to have. This is all I wanted to have actually. Okay, where do we go now? Oh yeah, we probably should add this meme selector now to the creator page. So let's go, yeah, we're gonna copy this from home to creator. I'm just gonna put it somewhere here. I don't know what we're gonna actually put on this page. I'm really not sure about that. So we add all missing imports here, and on meme selected on the creator page, yeah, we can have a function. There will be something happening. So meme selected equals meme. Yeah, do select whatever. I actually don't know what we're gonna do then. Add import, and then we have the same meme selector on the create your meme page. Great. Now, what we want to do is we want to mark the active item. So also on this page, I should be able to select one active meme. It will be reflected up here. So we're gonna have some kind of editor up here. Probably we can already like get this. So let's see. Once the creator page, we first of all need access to the search params. And we can get them from use search params from the React router DOM. Another great hook that we can use. Then we of course got the selected meme, and we're gonna keep track of that. Set selected equals use state. Is this far away? I don't know. I feel like this has gone away from me. Anyway, this will be, I think, just a string as far as I know. Now, we can set the selected, or I just want to show you the active image. How can we do this in the easiest way? Let's see. We probably have some kind of image anyway. So let's do just an image up here, and we're gonna set the source to. This is gonna be challenging because we're just passing the name to this page. So we're gonna have to construct this, I guess, image, and then using the selected.jpg alt, I don't know, create meme. Did I go wrong somewhere? Yeah, here and here. And well, can't you just close this? Anyway. Okay, right now we don't have a selected meme, so it shows up like this. However, if we now implement the use effect hook and grab our search params, we should actually be able to set this after jumping onto that page. So let's try use effect, and there we go. Use effect const active meme equals search params get, and now the name we passed was meme as far as I know. Let's check this back on our homepage. Use navigate meme, right? This is the search param we created. So I'm grabbing this value and then I will set selected to the active meme dot name. No, not really dot name, right? Yeah, but probably that value is undefined. So let's add a little fallback in here. As a fallback, I'm just using 10 guy. Okay, so let's see. Okay, we got this guy. Let's see if I go back to the home page and I select the dog. Nice, we see this dog up here. Aliens, and it shows aliens. So that means we are able to pre-select an image now and pass that information to a different page. And you can always check out the information right here in the search params. And if you don't have any search params like this, it will by default select this image as a fallback. Great, good job. Actually, we can now also do the meme selected and call set selected meme.name because we know this. So that means our meme selection, yeah, nice. Probably, let's see, selected, why is there like a flicker? Let's see if I go here and there. Oh, well, if I scroll down, it's probably also kind of hard. But this should actually use like log set my. Oh yeah, we haven't added. Quickly notice this. That could have taken me hours. An empty array for use effect. Otherwise, this will run all the time. No mistake. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Whew, that was a close call. Now, there's one more thing. If I now jump from the other page to this page and have a selected one, I also want to reflect this as the active one in the meme selector. So I also need to pass that information from parent, from the creator TSX, to the meme selector. And we're going to do this with the active meme. So the meme selector has this property already called active meme, and we're going to set this to our selected. So we don't really need this on homepage. We didn't implement it in there, but we do implement it right here. Now we can go back to the meme selector because we actually need some kind of CSS for a selected meme. So let's put this under meme grid item SX. And we're going to define for the image an outline. Let's say for try 4 pixel or no 4. So every image has an outline, looks like this. We could, by the way, also use our own color palette. So therefore, let's use string literals in here, 4 pixel solid. And now not red, but dollar, and then a value of pink, importing this from our colors, and then 500. Yeah, that is more our UI. Okay, now of course we only want to have this outline applied if the current this meme is active. So we can say props.active meme equals meme.name question mark. If that's the case, we could probably use end as well. Let's see, this could work as well. Why are you complaining? Probably you really want to have it with a question mark. You like that better, that version? You do, right? And oh, nice. I think we just made it. Only problem is that the border style, I think it jumps too much. I think this could be different. So if I set the border style to inset, it should add the border at a different. What is this gray border? Who added a gray border? Border style inset. I don't feel like this is adding anything. I'm gonna get rid of that. Yeah, well, it's fine. It works. It's also because up here it's moving a tiny bit, so. Okay, nice. We can select this. So we have a fully functional meme selector. That is nice. Once again, additional custom styling in there, but no matter what, this works great. So now we only need to create our actual meme creator. And as I've shown you before, the API here is very clear for create meme. We have a top text, a bottom text, and the name of a meme. So that means what we want to do on our page is, can I have like some drawing? What is the drawing? Xkelly draw. What I want to have is like, give me something to draw. I want to have like, that looks horrible. I want to have an input field top, bottom, and on the side I want to show the image of that meme. So this is the way to go. And then we're gonna have a button to say like generate something. This is the setup I wanna develop. So in order to do this, we're gonna touch the top area of our view. And we're gonna start with a box in here. I'm actually gonna comment this out for now. I'm gonna probably go back to that later. And we can start with another box. Actually, the same setup like here, a little bit of margin top, and then just automatically close that tag. Please, it's not that hard, Visual Studio. I don't know how many times I've been complaining about this. I'm close to writing my own IDE at this point. Okay, we're gonna start with another grid. We know the parent grid item should have container, and we're also gonna give this a spacing of 2, which works pretty nice. But now for our left-hand side, we know that it looks like this. So we can also use a stack component, which just stacks, well, it's exactly what you think it would be. So let's just add a stack. And I'll also add a spacing of 2, so that works pretty much the same like the grid item. In fact, before I use the stack, I should surround this with a grid item, and that grid item will take up, well, on small screens it should take up the full space. However, it should become a different space. Let's say here it goes to 8, and then it goes to 6, and for large devices it goes back to 8. Now the idea is that here is like the form. This will be an input form, and then we're gonna have next to the form, we're gonna have this grid. We're gonna comment this out, and after it we have another element where we actually show the selected image, and this is the place where I think I can drop in the code from before for the image. So please format this. There we go. But this one should probably not have the same, because no, it doesn't work. But on small screens, okay, we're gonna take up everything. Here we're gonna take 4, so we're gonna be matching those values, and here we're gonna be 4 as well. So that means we have the form to the left-hand side and the image to the right-hand side, and until small devices where we got it under each other. That should work. So we're all the time thinking about our responsive design. Really still glad about the header component. You too? I still like it. Okay, so I think we can keep it. Probably for this one, I'm gonna set the image width with 200%. Yeah, to make that image a bit bigger. Yeah, that's better. Okay, yeah. Now we just need to create that form on the left-hand side, where we got our little stack here. So for the stack we can just throw in the different elements, and we're gonna throw in a form control variant. We're gonna keep it without anything right now and just leave it like it is, and then a text field. I'm gonna add probably a placeholder. This will be the top text. On change, we're gonna do something, but for now, let's just keep it like it is. And voila, we got this. We should probably get rid of 4. That looks hilarious. Okay, it's already by default taking up the full width. I don't know if this is like already the standard. Let's check what we got. Variant, what could this be? Is there like a code completion? No, not for me. Okay, I'm fine. Filled? What does the filled form field looks like? I don't know. An outline? What's the difference here? Like I don't see anything. I don't know. I only know like standard, but standard is not really any major change to this. So I could probably also get rid of it. And then it's like standard should be like the standard. Anyway, the text field is already taking up the full width. If it's not taking up the full width, you could easily edit with full width like this, but we don't really have to. So we can get rid of it. And then we, of course, need to keep track of the actual inputs. So for top and bottom, let's also add two states, top, set top, bottom, and set bottom. And we can put this under the text field. So when we go into the top text field, what we want to set is we can directly do this on here. So let's say on change. We could also use React hook form. That's also pretty nice. But actually this should work in our simple case here. So we're gonna catch the change event, and on change what we want to do is we want to call set top with event target dot value. And this is pretty much exactly the same setup for the second field as well. Only in this case it will be bottom text and set bottom. There we go. Two text inputs. Again, big screen works, small screen works. Now next to this, so this is all coming by default from the stack layout. We can just throw in different items into the stack, and because we defined the spacing, this just works. For the button, we actually also want to use full, come on, just add the import. The full width version of the button. And we're going to call this create meme. Let's see, it displays, okay, it displays in here. However, I'll probably want to give this a bit more styling. So let's say size should be large, and actually variant should be contained. So we got a bit bigger button, and again, works on all the screens nicely. Nice. We could also center this. Nah, I don't think center would give us anything in here. Nah, I don't really want to. Okay. Create meme should be probably disabled if we haven't selected anything, but that's not possible, or if we're loading. But in the loading case, I also want to display like an overlay that shows that we're loading. So probably we don't really need anything else in here. We should add a click event, of course. So on click of that button, we want to call a function like do create meme. That's where we're going to hit the API from Rapid API once again. Const do create meme. In that case, we're actually going to call something like set loading, and I don't think we do have something. So let's do this. Loading, set loading, and will be by default false. And then when we do create meme, we're going to set loading to true. That means we can actually try this out. So let's add also a backdrop here. Backdrop element. And this will be open when we are loading. That should be cool. Let's see. Will this work? Yeah, there's the backdrop. That button. I think to correctly implement the backdrop, what we need to do is the following. I'm gonna set SX and set the index here. And we're gonna set this based on the theme value. So that's possible as well. And we're gonna use theme.index.draw +1. So that should pretty much, yeah, put this at the topmost level of our application. And we can now also do something inside of the backdrop. So let's also add a circular progress, which is a super simple component. Do we actually need some kind of color, or will it work without the color? Let's see. That's blue. Let's try if we use color inherit. It's black. If I set the color to white in here, then it should inherit the right color, right? Yes, nice. This is our loading. That was pretty easy, right? Like just click create meme and it shows this loading with the backdrop. That's pretty cool. All right, that's not doing any kind of functionality yet, but we're gonna do this, of course, as well in a second. However, I would like to present the result in something like a modal, and I think there is a modal. So let's add another state here, show modal, and set show modal. It's going to be false in the beginning. Also, we probably need a result from our API. So let's add another state result and set result, which we'll get back after we actually create the meme. Now, this is going to be a bit more complicated to create the meme and then display it. We're probably just going to do it like live in our use API. I try to fake the result. It is kind of possible. Maybe we're gonna let's try and do it. Let's try to fake this first of all, because this is really saving you quota while you're developing, and I think this totally makes sense. So you can do a function const create meme, and then we're gonna pass in top, which will be a string. We're gonna pass bottom, will be a string, meme string as well. This will, by the way, return a promise. I'm gonna call this one any. There we go. Yeah, by now it's not yet a promise, but that should be pretty soon. So now we can copy our setup from the promises we had before, just like this. However, we're gonna do something else in here, and that is we gonna return a fetch, return fetch to a local image. So that image can be anything you want. Let's just use, what is something 10 guy? Yeah, 10 guy.jpg. So we're making a fetch call here. And actually we want to call, let's say const result equals await fetch. It means we need to mark this as an asynchronous function. Then we need to call const blob equals result.blob, because this is what we later get back. We really get back in blob, I think, from the Rapid API. And do we need to, this is result.blob. Yeah, it's a promise as well. So let's await this one as well. And then we're gonna transform this to an object URL, because this is what we can finally display using URL, create object URL from the blog. And I'm gonna add this resolve. So this is our fake create meme, and we're gonna replace this with a real call in a second. But while we develop our code, it's always nice to, like, during coming up with the code and trying out different things, I probably had a little for iteration or called my use effect like 30 times for an API in just a few seconds, and I just quickly hit stop. So you don't want to have this happen, because it can blow up your quota. So be a bit careful with this while developing. Okay, we got the create meme. So let's go back to our creator, and are we not yet importing anything yet from our use API? Okay. No worry. Oh no, this is not what I want. I want create meme from use API. Okay, so inside of do create, we're gonna set our loading to true. We're gonna use an asynchronous function here, and we're gonna get const result equals await create meme. Now we need to pass in our values, top, bottom, selected. Should be the name of the meme, right? And then let's log out result. There we go. And at this point, we can also already set our, come on, set loading back to false. Like this. You're not happy about selected? Yeah, at this point, selected really should be set. Is it possible to have not selected here? Well, probably let's just disable the button in that case. The button to create a meme is disabled when selected is an empty string. Okay, that should work. So that means if I enter this page here, kind of like this a bit bigger, without anything, like just create, then this is not possible. I could also give it a different style in that case, but for now, let's just keep it. Okay, so I'm gonna select something, create meme, and then it says result blob something. That is good. That is exactly what I wanted to see. So with that information, I am able to display this fake result. And as I said, I want to do this in a modal. So that is a bit more challenging. This should cover the whole UI. So let's add this somewhere up here. So modal, it should be open when show modal is true. And we're going to keep it like this for the moment. Probably, didn't you add the import? Oh, you want to, I should probably add on close as well, right? Then you would maybe be happy. So on close, set show modal false. Okay, that makes sense. Will this work? Yeah, of course. Sorry about that. Better like this, right? No overload matches this call. What is missing? Some SX styling. On close, we got open. Did you actually add the modal like from the right? From where did you import this? Ah, from there. That's fine. That's cool. In the lower level construct, what's wrong? If you're displaying no overload, what do you need? Backdrop SX. Do I really need to implement like SX here? Just for the sake of having it? Really like this? No. I feel like I made a mistake. Does it need some kind of content? Let's put in a container in here. Yeah, then it works. Okay, nice. Well, so that means I can now, after I get the result back, I will set show modal. I'm gonna set this to true. So that means the modal, once I click create meme, should appear. Let's see if this is really the case. Loading. No, this is actually the modal. It's not showing the loading. Nice. We don't have any content in there. That's not a problem. So let's put something into our container now. Actually, the only thing really we need is the resulting image. So I'm going to set the source to, do we actually have a result already? I don't know. I'm going to check this out. But it looks like, yeah, we have a result. So that means I should probably also call set result using our result. Okay, let's try again. Create meme. And there is the image coming up. It's totally pushing in the wrong way, but we can easily fix this. We can fix this. How do we do this? We give the modal display flex. And we're gonna align item center. We're gonna do everything to align everything in the middle of the screen. Align items center and justify content as well center. Okay, now we got the image here. That's good. Display flex, align. Okay, cool. For the container, I actually want to give this a maximum width of a small screen. Simply because then the container will, be here. And I want to give the image, I want to add also a button to download that image to make it a bit easier. So let's come up with another stack in here. And the stack will have a spacing of 2 again. And this one will have a background color. So this will be a background color white. Then I now put in the image. Okay, and I'm gonna add a little bit of padding to my stack in here. So a bit of 2 here and probably a bit more here. Then we have this nice white border. Nice, exactly. That's what I wanted. So now I also want to put up a button above this. Button, I'm going to use full width once again. Variant contained. And download meme. That should appear up here. Nice, that looks good. I like it. I probably want to have a little bit of typography in here as well. Like something H4 that says grab your meme. Like the title. I want to have this centered. So let's say this for the container. We could probably do this in every place. Just say text align center somewhere. There we go. That's good. That looks good. Looks good. Looks good in all the places. Should work. We should probably have like a close button. I can click the background. Yeah, that works as well. On click, I certainly want to have some kind of download. And for the button, for buttons, I can also easily add something like a start icon or end icon. So let's add a start icon and use download outlined. There you should have a nice download icon. Yes, nice, nice. And on click for the button, we want to trigger a function to start the download. Actually, that's going to be a pretty easy function on the web. On mobile, not so much. So this won't work on mobile devices. But there's an easy way to do this, and that is like this. You create an A element, you set the href of that element and give it a name, and you trigger a click. So this is exactly how you can build a download for pretty much every image, file, or whatever you have in your application. So let's give this a try. Download and download starting, and it directly shows up here in Arc under there. So another image, click to open, here it is, download it. So this could be our result. Now what I also want to have is a close button under that image. So let's add a new button below the image. And it's pretty nice that we use the stack, so we don't really need to care about any kind of positioning here. For this one, I'm just gonna call this one, well, basically we just need on click, set show modal false. And the only thing, I don't want to have a start icon or end icon. I only want to have an icon, so let's use the close in here. Do I need to use an icon button? Does this make any difference? I wonder. Let's check out the documentation real quickly. For buttons, there we go, button. How does an icon button look like for you? Like this, icon button, and then the icon inside. Well, I don't know if this makes any difference. Let's go back to the app. Let's see, I'm gonna hit save. Not really, actually it's worse. So let's go with the button instead and have the icon inside. I think this works nice. Nice, we are able to show a modal as well. We also have the loading, which comes up not for a long time right now, but I think we got pretty much all the functionality in place now to show our result. So let's now go back to our use API hook and finally see how we can make a real call, because so far we have done a lot of faking and we've done good so, I think. Let's try and use a real call using, where is it? The code we got here. So let's just grab this and put it into our create meme function. Okay, this looks interesting. I think we can do this in a bit better way, but we definitely need the this is actually not JavaScript. This is JavaScript. Well, though, still using it like this. So I'm gonna add XJS. We installed this in the beginning. We could do it like this. But I feel like there's an easier way. So let's just say const result equals wait axios.get. So now we're gonna have to use the URL. So that is this one. And then we can create some kind of params object. So for the params object, we're gonna use exactly what we had in here. But the only thing is we already got this as parameters to our function, so we don't need to set this. And you're not happy because I didn't mark this as an asynchronous function. Yeah, sorry about that. So once we got this, what we need as well is to define the headers. This is where the authentication to Rapid API comes into place. And yes, let me tell you something about this in a second. So I'm gonna copy over my values here, the Rapid API key and the host, and then we pretty much got everything that we had in the snippet here. So let's see, log after call. We get back some kind of result, and actually what we get back here, for that we should set the response type blob, because that's what we get back from the meme generator API. This key is something you usually don't want to have in your front end, so I'm just using it in here because it's now a bit easier, and there are different ways to hide this. I've seen videos using an environment variable and then throwing up pretty much its own server and loading the value from there. That could probably work, yes, but I don't know how good this works with native application, because we're gonna soon also add Capacitor and build this out into a native application. So at this point it's just a web application, but then it's also going to be a native application. However, what I would recommend is that we use cloud functions for this, and we can easily do this with Netlify in just a few steps. And I'm going to show you this as an example for like the get trending function. And then we're going to be able to put our environment variables like the Rapid API key into that cloud function. I think this is a bit safer way than all the other approaches that I've seen so far. Okay, anyway, this is making a real call, so we need to be a bit careful now. I don't want to make a mistake to blow up my quota. But anyway, I want to return create object URL with result.data. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to put this here. So that means our create meme should now use real data. Let's see. I have no idea. Let's do this. This is cool. Not the right meme text. Create meme, loading, and there we go. This is pretty much the solution. Nice, I like it. I can now download this and come on, Arc, get away with this. I want to celebrate. There is the image. This is cool, not the right. Oh, I really like it. I really like it. And the background click did close it. Now, if I want to do this again, this is so cool. One more. Let's use something else. I really like him, like the good old Bernie meme. This is cool. I really like this. I really like this. Nice. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job so far, right? We are able to download this. We're able to navigate around in our app. This is a responsive app. We have multiple APIs included. We have different routings. So there are now two things left. One is to create a native mobile application from this, and number two is an approach how we could outsource our functions to Netlify or any kind of cloud function. Where do we want to start? I think we're just starting with Capacitor. So if you haven't used Capacitor before, it's a cross-platform native runtime for web apps. You can throw in Capacitor into pretty much any project, any web project. Doesn't matter if it's React, Angular, Vue, Svelte, whatever, you name it. And then you will be able to build a native application in no time and also access the native device APIs. So let's do this. I usually go ahead with npm is this like npm init Capacitor app? I usually install it like this. This is more my hello. Just close this. Okay. So let's see, let's give this a bit more space and let's install the Capacitor core package and also the Capacitor CLI. Because if we have the Capacitor CLI, we'll be able to execute local Capacitor commands, namely npx cap init. This is what I want to call now, and it asks me a few questions like, what's the name of your app? I'm going to call this meme app. The package ID, this is a unique ID you're gonna have later, like com.yourcompany.mycoolmemecreator. I'm just gonna keep it like it is for now. As a result, Capacitor has now created a capacitor config.ts file. And I'm gonna do something. Do we already want to do this? Yeah, let's do the easy way. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna install the native platforms for add Capacitor Android and add Capacitor iOS. That's done almost pretty fast. And now we can add these native platforms. However, Capacitor is now looking for a web directory called build, and we don't really have this. So let's run npm run build at least once, because this will create our dist folder. And Capacitor is pretty much just using this build folder in a native application and then wraps the content in a web view. On iOS, it's a WK web view. On on Android, it's the default web view. In that web view, it will display our application, and we won't see any status. We won't see any like URL bar or anything. It will be like a native application. So let's go ahead. npx cap add iOS. This should be pretty fast and generates an iOS folder in our project. And we can do the same for Android, and it adds another Android folder. Great. Now, on top of that, we can now easily open those packages using npx cap open iOS or Android, and it will open the native tooling. So for iOS, it will open Xcode. And now I will just go ahead with like the iPhone 12 Pro or whatever, and gonna hit deploy. And we're just gonna see what happens. I'm actually kind of excited because like there's always something that could go wrong and you don't really know if you made a mistake along the way. But we're gonna figure this out in a second. So we're gonna make this at least a bit smaller. And this is not too bad. This is not too bad. This is our application. This is our application as a native application. And this could just be now directly, like if I go Command Shift H, it is a native application. I could submit this application just as it is to the iOS and Android app stores. We got our draw component, which is hidden up here. The swiper is working. The navigation is working. The rest of the logic. So pretty much everything is working. Because we did all of this responsive, we've done a pretty nice job if you've come this far. Congratulations. There are just a few things. The first thing being that in a mobile application, we need to respect the safe environment value up here. And to respect this correctly, we first of all go into our index.html and change our viewport to view device width initial scale 1, but also viewport fit equals cover. And this is what we want to do. Now, how do we get those changes to our device? Well, we could run another build and then we could go back to Xcode and deploy it again to the device. That is a horrible process. Yeah, I completely agree to that. In fact, the better way to do this is to have live reload. Just like we have in the browser, we can have live reload with Capacitor as well. And the only thing we need to do is in the Capacitor config, add a little block like this. In fact, I'm running right now on port 3K, I think. Let's quickly confirm this. Yeah, that's the default port. And that is my IP. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run npm run start, which will once again bring up the application and just serve it at localhost. And then at the same time, I'm gonna run npx cap sync. This will sync all the changes from the Capacitor configuration to our native platforms. And then I'm gonna deploy the application again to my device, which is actually pretty fast if you've booted the simulator once. What's the result of all of this? Well, let's see. We can go to our home page, components, home TSX, and let's say Capacitor. We hit save, and we see live reload on a device. As well, of course, in the browser, I could just still go to my place and also have live reload. So I can now have all of this side by side and work on my page with live reload. inside a native application and inside a web application. So this is the way you want to develop with Capacitor. And at this point, you're pretty much done with the integration of Capacitor. Like, you could now install native plugins to, for example, access the camera or do something cool, but you don't really have to do any of this. And you still have a native application based on just the React web code that we've written. And this is something mind-blowing to me ever and ever again. Now, anyway, we need to do a few changes because we can see up here, this doesn't look right. So what we're gonna do is for the container we have here with a maximum width, we're gonna now add padding to the top. So if I add something like padding top 10, oh, that's actually just the container. We should probably first of all talk about the header. So for the header, let's see, where is my header? There it is. I want to attach this to the app bar, and I'm going to give it padding top. Let's try 10. That works. However, if I do it like this, you already see in the background what happens. Like, this is not what we want. We just want to have the padding on the mobile platform here. So we're gonna do this based on an environment value called save area inset top. Let's hit save. As a result, we see the web looks nice, looks standard again, and mobile looks a lot better again. Within our toolbar, I think this is actually like, this is pretty much perfect. Okay, this is not perfect, but the rest here, like, that's perfect. We don't need to do anything in there. That's nice. However, we do need to do something to our menu, which is, I think, the draw, right? So let's get back to our draw component that we created with a box. And for the SX, we got text, align, background, color, color. And we're gonna give this one the same padding top. Padding top based on environment save area inset top. Okay, fixing this. And then we got the menu. So this is also the reason why we got the background color up here for the box. If I didn't have the background color here and added it to the typography element, as a result, we would have this ugly white area up there. But because we added it already to our box, it covers from the very top to here. And this is no difference to a native application now. And the performance, again, because we added the swipeable draw, I can now swipe this close as well, just like I could on a native application. This is pretty sleek. This works really, really nicely, completely just like that. I like it. Do we want to change anything else? Like, I don't know, this already looks so good. I don't know if we actually need any more tweaks to this. Yeah, probably. Okay, yeah. So let's add to our container here. Yeah, because we're now lower, there's a problem. On the web, we don't have that problem. On mobile, we do have that problem. So again, inside the app component where we got the container, let's also add this. And then we got the save area here as well. And again, on the web, no problem about this. This is so cool. It works completely. Let's mobile test. This is, I'm gonna select something, which means we haven't used this one. Oh, this one close enough is always a good one. Let's try. Okay. It just works. Like, this is so cool. We haven't written any kind of native code and it just works exactly like this. Only problem is to save this on mobile devices, but you can always add it to photos just like this or share it. So I would trigger the share dialog in here. I could still share this. I don't have any kind of application logo, as you can see, and I don't have a loading logo. But by the way, here is the image of the emulator. And oh, please close this. I could define all of these things within Xcode, of course. I could create the images. Like, there's a lot more to discover for Capacitor. If you're interested in this, check out my other videos on Capacitor or the Ionic Academy, where I also got tons of courses using Capacitor. Like, all of this is possible at your fingertips. And we focused like 2 hours on writing this web application. And now in a matter of like minutes, we've gone to a native installable mobile application that even looks great. So I think there's no better proof than this, that Capacitor is a worthy contender to things like React Native or Flutter or like real native development. Because we could now also have this, can we quickly check this out as well? npx cap open Android. That means I probably need to turn on my Android device, which is funny enough, always at 0 battery. Oh no, I don't want to do this. It's always at 0 battery when I record a video and think like, oh, I should probably show an Android device today. This is like this. But I'm gonna try this at the side to open it up somehow. I'm certainly trusting this project. This is like, I create this project. Why shouldn't I trust this? And I always don't know exactly which key I need to use. So if you want to, you can also now directly go into Android. And within Android Studio, you could connect your device to your computer. You could also use an emulator if you have one, but that's a bit more complicated. If you have never used mobile development, you probably need to install actually both tools, like Xcode for iOS development, which only also works on a Mac, and Android Studio, including a bunch of like, I don't know, like 20, 30 gigabytes of SDKs. I don't know if it's gotten any better lately. I don't think so. I don't think it got any better. But anyway, I'm gonna try to somehow get this device up and running again. But there was actually one more thing that I wanted to show you that we talked about, and that was hosting a cloud function and also hosting our application. So we're gonna go the full way. I said this in the beginning. I promised you're gonna end up with 2 native applications, iOS and Android, and a website, and we're gonna do this. So let's start by creating a new GitHub repository. You go into GitHub, you create a new repository. I'm gonna call this memes React. How do I call it? This is the biggest challenge I had in the last 2 hours. Meme creator React Capacitor. Like the worst name. I'm gonna make this public so you can later check it out as well. I'm gonna create that repository now. Okay, I'm gonna actually already connect my application to that repository. So git add git commit -am initial commit. Feel free to use a tool like, what am I using? Usually SourceTree. SourceTree is also pretty nice. But otherwise, you can also just a few commands do it here. Then copy the code from GitHub to add the remote and finally push your code. I've also by default set up my branch to be main here locally, so I don't need to run any of the other commands. And then voila, the code is already here. Now, this is just like a little part of the fun exercise. What we actually want to do is we want to connect our application to Netlify. So with Netlify, you get hosting pretty much for free. And what we're going to do now is we're going to install the Netlify functions, because then we will be able to run cloud functions pretty easily. So let's install @Netlify functions in our application. And then we can create a Netlify cloud function by running Netlify functions command create --name, and I'll call this Reddit memes. Okay, gonna make this a bit bigger. I'm gonna use, I'm gonna go with serverless function. Oh yeah, I haven't actually initialized my repository. So let's call Netlify init first. No problem. What would you like to do? Connect this site to an existing, create and configure a new site, because I don't have one. Using my team, you probably need to call Netlify login or something if this is the first time using the Netlify CLI. Also, of course, if you haven't installed the Netlify CLI, just go ahead with it. npm install Netlify CLI-G. Then it asks site name. You can change it later. Yeah, isn't Simon awesome? That's a perfect name. Come on, that's already taken. Meme creator React Capacitor. That also taken? Nah, it's not taken. Your build command, yeah, I can just hit enter. Directory to deploy is built. Let's hit enter. No Netlify toml detected. Would you like to create one? Yes, please. This should create a nice Netlify toml right here. I don't know, I don't have syntax highlighting for a Netlify toml, but I can tell you that we need to apply a few changes. So I can remove this, and this is exactly what I want to have. So for all SPAs, I want to redirect all traffic from every page to index, because this is what we need for Angular, for React, for Vue, for all those JavaScript SPA frameworks. You need to redirect all traffic to the index HTML, which actually loads, bootstraps your application and loads the router. So the router can then take over and do the routing. So this is nice that we can directly do this with Netlify. Now we can come back to my command and create a function. Again, serverless function. I'm going to go with TypeScript, and I'm going to use the basic function. So that gives us a Netlify folder with functions, and we also specified this in here, Netlify/functions and Reddit memes. Cool. So this is our new cloud function. And what we want to do in here is, I'm going to remove this. I pretty much want to do we want it live? Yeah, let's just do it live. So const result equals await Axios. So we can once again use Axios in here. Dot get the URL. Now we're going to go back to our hooks and mimic the behavior we had in here. So what was it like? This one was get trending, right? So we can pretty much get rid of the code in here. And no, not here, but here. Copy a bit of this. So this is not something we need in there. We need to make a call to trending endpoint. And we need to attach the header once again. Headers, there we go. Actually, I could have copied it like this. Now, if I do it like this, that's okay. But no, actually it's not okay, because this means we're still committing our keys to our GitHub repository, which I intentionally did. So I'm probably gonna remove those from my Rapid API account after this video. Anyway, what we can do instead is now create an environment file. So I'm gonna create a new file, .env, and within that environment file, I'm gonna put in my Rapid API key, just like this. And now I can close this and I can go back to my cloud functions, and I can simply grab my Rapid key from process.environment. And that means I'm not committing my .env file to the GitHub repository, and on Netlify I can set up my own environment variables. So I can remove this and say Rapid key in here. If you're not happy, this is certainly set. And now I'm get back the result, and I'm just gonna pass back result stringify result.data to our application. Cool. On top of that, I think we wanna make sure, yeah, by default, Netlify, if I run this locally, so I can now run Netlify dev locally. This will run the cloud function on port 888 and my React application at port 3000. This is always a problem, but we can fix this by going once again to the Netlify toml. And this looks so horrible. I don't know why I have no syntax highlighting, but I'm gonna set this to port 8888 as well. Because if I do it like this, it will also run my React application on that port once I run Netlify dev. And this is important, so then we can go back to our hooks now to use API, and instead of using my dummy trending data, we can now call our API, and we can call this by first of all grabbing the base URL, window location.origin, and then getting the result from await I said this before, async await axios.get, and then our base URL slash dot netlify slash functions slash Reddit memes. This is where our cloud function lives. On a real production environment, it will also work because we've deployed it through Netlify, but we could also probably won't work in a mobile application. So the mobile application, we would just use the absolute URL here instead. So we could do this as well. And then we're gonna return result.data. Okay, what's going on now? We're gonna not start npm run, but we're gonna start netlify dev. By doing this, we can check the output. It will inject the .env file. It will load our functions here, which are now at 8888, netlify functions, Reddit memes. We got a bit of more output, and then we also got our application. Actually, now this is in Chrome, but I don't care. This is our application running on port 8888, and it looks the same because it apparently returns the same data. But if I go into my Reddit memes, in cloud function, let's see. Voila, we get the log from our cloud functions because we are now actually loading the data from here instead. And this is now a safer way to keep our Rapid API key. So I'm gonna hit close here. I'm gonna check whatever I changed. I'm gonna put my .env file under git ignore because I certainly don't want to commit this. Sorry. Yeah, that means we're only getting the Netlify folders. So I'm gonna add those folders, git commit, add cloud function, and then git push. Now we got everything in the GitHub repository at this point. My environment is local. I do think, yeah, by chance, I still used for create meme. I still use my API key in here. I'm gonna certainly, yeah, well, I can't really remove it at this point, but I'm gonna disable it inside Rapid API. However, we can now check out once again the repository. So here's the repository with all the initial things, and we can head over to Netlify. And as far as I know, it should have created, yeah, once we run the init command, it used this. The only problem is the build recently failed because this is in build scope, React scripts build, finished at, I should probably like check this out. Well, it is still building. Maybe it runs through this time. We should, like, I've built this locally. It should work on there as well. npm run build. This runs React scripts build. I don't know, it's creating the same locally. Sometimes you have a difference in terms of the versions used, but usually this should work. So let's wait until the build is finished. Okay, I just fixed all the warnings in my project and now the project is deployed. However, there are certain things not working, especially the cloud function here to gather our training memes is not yet working. The reason is easy. We can go to functions and then Netlify, and we're gonna go to site settings, build and deploy, and we're gonna edit our, not the settings, but we need to edit our environment variables. So we want to add the Rapid key in here. So the same value we used in here, we're going to hit save. And once we got this, I don't know if we actually need to redeploy the site. Let's see if we can just go there. It probably throws still the error. Exactly. So therefore we should just go ahead. But anyway, the deployment did work. So let's deploy the site once again, and then it should work. At the same time, there's one more thing. Under functions, we can now check out our Reddit memes function, and we can grab this endpoint and use it in our hook here. And this is the place, what I said about before. If we're running a code like this on the web, it will actually work, but inside a native application, it won't, because window location origin won't be this, but the location will be like localhost something or capacitor dot something. So we're going to use the absolute URL in here, and I've rebuilt my project and synced the changes. If you want to build just in one-off build, make sure you remove the server block we previously had in here. So this block, you definitely want to remove this if you just want to make a one-off build. Then within Android Studio, you can just deploy it to your device, and I should be able to somehow, like, I'm not an expert here, but I should be able to cast this to my, yes, start recording. And there is my Android device as well. Can we make this a bit small? This is probably a tiny bit like Reflector. Come on, don't do this to me. I don't need a device that looks like... All right, here's the default size. And again, it looks like it's a native application. We can use this like a native application. We got the iOS application. We got that native application. And if I go back here to my deploys, it's probably still deploying. No, it is deployed. So let's check it out. And on this page, I should hopefully be able to see something. Well, it's probably not yet using my key, so I should probably check this again. But on the other hand, we are done with this. So I just need to reload this. And we got a native iOS application here running in my simulator. I got a native Android application right here running on my device. So I can show you like this. And I got a website that works as a website, as a responsive site, because we could define the layout to be just like this. We could have it as a responsive site, and we could have it as a big site. Everything works from one code base, and using different Rapid APIs just makes it super easy to connect various APIs in your project. You don't have to use the meme, but there are tons of other APIs like weather, crypto APIs, flight radar, food tracking, like tons of great APIs that I checked out up front. And I just hope that this example of the meme creator, with all the material UI, the layout, the routing, the responsive things, and also the API functions, the deployment, the capacitor stuff really helps you for your next project, to consider if capacitor is something for you that you want to use to add to your capacitor project. You can pretty much add it at any point of time. And as a result, I think this picture, this result speaks everything. Like, we probably just need high resolution thumbnails, but otherwise we have covered 3 big platforms with one code base and Rapid API. And if this is not great, then I don't know. Alright, and that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this big guide on all the steps that you need to take to start your new React application with Create React App, integrate Material UI, build a responsive design, integrate APIs, make API calls, and finally even deploy it to the web, to iOS and to Android with a native application using Capacitor. Again, if you want to support this video, make sure you check out Rapid API and create your free account, and as well, of course, give their Visual Studio Code extension a try, because I've been using it lately and I really enjoy using it. So far that it actually replaced Postman for me. If you got any questions, please leave them in the comments, and of course you can find the link to the GitHub repository with all the code from our tutorial right below the video as well. So make sure you stay subscribed for all the upcoming videos, hit the like button if you haven't done so far, and then I will hopefully catch you soon inside the next video. So until then, as always, happy coding, Simon.